When most people hear Gen 5, they immediately think Landorus. Well, at least the Therian form. Its ground flying typing and intimidate ability make it one of the most overpowered Pokemon ever created, consistently being at the top of the competitive scene. Unfortunately, this form and the reveal glass weren't introduced until Black and White 2, but even in its incarnate form, it's a force to be reckoned with. The fact that moves like Swords Dance, Earthquake, and Stone Edge are in its level up set are just further proof that Landorus doesn't mess around. Interestingly enough, this flying type doesn't learn any flying stab by level up. In fact, the only flying type move it has access to at all is the HM Fly. The rules for this challenge are on screen now, and if you'd like to refer back to them, they'll be in the description down below. Now let's see how fast this monster with a base stat total of 600 can beat Pokemon Black and White. Gen 5 lends itself to physical attackers more than special, since you can't get special attack EVs until after the second or third gym, depending on which version of the game you're playing. Landorus has the potential to be used in either capacity, but since it has slightly higher attack and access to Swords Dance, I think it's a great candidate to finally break the 2-hour mark. Usually I wouldn't show this fight, but one of the Abundance Pokemon's only weaknesses is water, and Sharon has Oshawott. After a Mud Shot, Water Gun almost takes down half our health, which is honestly shocking. We even have to take a second one before we can finally KO the little otter with 3 Mud Shots. Luckily, Purloin's assist ended up being Tackle, leaving us with 2 HP because if it had rolled Water Gun, we actually would have had the earliest whiteout in any of my runs yet. By the time I make it to Crest for our first gym battle, Landorus is only at level 11. His Lillipup is no problem since this gym is obsessed with spamming workup and never capitalizing on the boosts. After leveling up, Panpour comes in, and based on Oshawott's damage output, this could be scary. Turn 1 we connect Mudshot as the monkey uses workup. Unfortunately, Landorus misses his second Mudshot and gets sprayed with a +1 Water Gun for 18 damage. Next turn we bring Panpour down to the red, and after another Water Gun we're 1 away from death. But since we hung on here, this one is wrapped up as we outspeed and land 2 more Mud Shots to earn our first badge. On our way to Nacrene, we have to battle Sharon again, but this time Oshawott only landed 1 Water Gun, so we came out with a lot more health. Before entering the second gym, we're stopped by N, who we beat without taking damage, so now it's time for Lenora, who's proved to be the hardest gym leader in this game. Herdior's Intimidate coupled with Watchog's Retaliate really makes this an insanely difficult combo to deal with solo. At least we still have Mudshot, so we won't be too affected by Intimidate. Turn 1 I missed the ground type attack as the Sheepdog connects a takedown for over a third of my health. Now we land it, but get brought down to 18 HP before KOing Herdior. This allows Watchog to come in, put us to sleep, and take us out with Retaliate. Another classic case of slow experience curve leading to grinding before Lenora. In case you didn't know, Pokemon are grouped into one of 6 experience groups: Erratic, Fast, medium slow, slow, and fluctuating. For the purposes of this run, it would be best to have a Pokemon in the fast experience group, and worse to have a Pokemon in the slow group. Pokemon with a slow curve tend to have higher base stat totals and oftentimes are legendaries, mythicals, or pseudo-legendaries, so the trade-off for that power is making them harder to raise, such as the case with Landorus. I spent around 6 minutes getting up to level 20 from 17, and with the Chesto Berry in hand, we were ready for Lenora round 2. A crit Mudshot actually manages to kill Herdior straight away, so we're at full health for Watchog. After a Mudshot, we get leered, and then I actually get a critical hit punishment for the win. I used punishment since I forgot its base power only increases when the opponent buffs its stats and not when mine get changed by them, but oh well, it worked out. From here, we can jump straight to Castelia City where we get Bianca's mana back and then challenge Berg. I've kept Rock Tomb since level 1, so we have a super effective move on all of the artist's Pokemon. First up is Whirlipede, who I Rock Tomb for good damage as Landorus gets screeched. Next turn we take it out and Dwebble comes in. I'm not sure why I decided to use Bulldoze instead of Rock Tomb here. Maybe I forgot for a second that Rock doesn't resist itself. After a second, Leavanny comes in and Rock Tomb is just short of a 2-shot on the ace. On the healing turn, I decide to use Bulldoze since I need a little more damage to guarantee Rock Tomb will kill in 2. Interestingly enough, Berg's AI will always have Leavanny use String Shot if it doesn't see a 1-shot and the Pokemon you have on the field is faster. Since Rock Tomb lowers speed, the bug was helpless as it used a total of 5 String Shots before dying in this battle. This was even after considering the fact that Landorus missed 2 Rock Tombs after its opponent healed. Against Bianca on our way to Route 4, Contra levels up to 25 and learns Rock Throw, which is more accurate than Rock Tomb, but we lose the speed debuff effect. Thankfully, her Panpour dies to 1 hit, and although Servine is a little bothersome with Leech Seed, we get through this one no problem. I rush straight to the route to take down Sharon, and while he has a Dewat on his team now, the stage 1 wastes its existence just using a focus energy before being knocked out. The rest of his team dies to Bulldoze, so we're free to move on to Nimbasa. Before that though, I stop off in the Desert Resort for the Soft Sand, which boosts ground type moves by 20%, and the Rossberry that we'll be saving for the Elite Four. On the way back, I scoop up the TM for Dig from this worker since Landorus won't learn a better ground type move until Earth Power at level 43, but that's special anyway. Now it's time for a little Ferris wheel ride with N and then a battle shortly after. Most of the Plasma King's team goes down to a single Dig, but since Sigilif is a flying type, it takes a bit more to KO. After surviving Rock Throw, it whirlwinds me, and I completely forgot I had Pansage in the party since he's my cut user. I force myself to hard swap to Landorus, who then gets hit by Psybeam while still getting used to his surroundings. I miss a 90% accurate Rock Throw here as a second Psybeam brings me down to 54 HP. At least now we finally hit our mark with the boulder and put an end to N. For now. Next we can finally take on the 4th gym, and boy am I gonna enjoy this. Usually Elesa is a pain to get past since her Emolgas are fast and hit decently hard with Volt Switch, plus her Zebstrika has a high damage output with Spark and can boost its own speed with Flame Charge. As a ground type, we finally can't be hit by her Stab, and I dedicate this one to all the resets from past runs. I open with Rock Throw against Emolga number 1 who barely hangs on and strikes back with Pursuit. After Elesa heals, I use a punishment to get the flying rodent lower than full HP and then kill with another Rock Throw. On Emolga number 2, I use the same punishment into Rock Throw combo, and now it's just Zebstrika. Unluckily for Elesa, this thing dies to a single Dig, and that's it for the Bolt badge. Feels so good to have a run that's sub 1 hour after 4 gyms. Definitely not something I'm used to seeing. On our way to Driftfield, we have to battle Sharon again, which means another run-in with Dewat. His Liepard opens by landing a fake out for some damage, and then we dig for a kill. Funny enough, I for some reason thought Torment worked while I was underground, so I switched to Mudshot against the starter, and after proccing its Citrus Berry, a Razor Shell hits for about half the health we have left and lowers Landorus' defense. We're able to kill next turn with Dig, and I realize I'm not tormented, so Panseer dies to the same. Last is Tranquil, who quick attacks us into the yellow and actually survives a Rock Throw. However, Sharon doesn't heal his bird and one more rock knocks it out. With that taken care of, we can go toe to toe with the ground type gym leader Clay. Will my ground type be able to prevail? 3 digs later and that question is answered as Landorus doesn't even break a sweat against the likes of Krokorok, Palpitoad, and Excadrill. But of course Bianca won't let us leave town until we agree to battle her. Because of Hertier's Intimidate, I opt for Mudshot but don't do enough damage to get the KO. Even after a takedown, it somehow survives the recoil. I use a few extra sensories which I replace punishment with while Bianca spams her hyper potions. After taking out Hertier and Panpour, she brings in Servine who loses half its health to my psychic type attack. The Serpent fires off a Leaf Tornado which crits for 33 damage, but next turn another extra sensory knocks it out. Last is Masharna, and even after Defense Curl, a crit dig gets the one shot, finishing Bianca off. The Chargestone cave fight with N is always interesting between his Bulldore's Sturdy and Ferroseed's Iron Barb, so let's see how it plays out. I don't have many digs left, but decide I need to use one here since Buldore has such great defenses. Between turns, N uses Iron Defense, which allows his lead to survive, and use another to get to +4 defense. I assumed a neutral Rock Throw would be enough to get a kill here, but it did virtually nothing as we're hit with Smackdown. Since I'm stubborn, I throw a second rock, which gets the job done. Joltik also dies to Rock Throw, and then when Ferroseed comes in, I set up Swords Dance. After being hit with Metal Claw, I get to +4 attack as I'm met with Iron Defense. I decide to use a third Swords Dance, so even if the Seed uses Iron Defense between dig turns, which it does, I'll still be 2 stages ahead. At +6, we annihilate Ferroseed and Clink and are able to move on to Mistralton City. Before doing anything else, I grab the Sharp Beak, which boosts flying type attacks by 20% from the man in the cargo service building. Then I clear out Celestial Tower and challenge Skyla to a battle. Since her Swoobat has Unaware, it'll ignore my attack boost from Swords Dance, but still best to set one up to start. It Amnesias, which is useless in the face of Rock Throw, getting the one-shot. The same goes for Swanna and Unpheasant, so that's an easy sweep for the Earth Kami. On the way to Twist Mountain, we battle Sharon again, and even though it's currently raining, his Dewott doesn't take advantage, and we make quick work of our rival. After arriving in Issaris City, I catch a Palpitoad for Surf and backtrack to Mistralton Cave where I catch a Boldore for Strength. The reason I came back to this cave was so I could grab the TM for Rock Slide instead of having to wait for Landorus to get to level 49 to learn it. With this move in my arsenal, it's time to absolutely crush Brycen, who's pretty much proven by now he's the worst gym leader in the game. Rock Slide kills Vanillish, and then Beartic survives one, and a 4x effective Icicle Crash leaves Landorus with 2 HP. I decide to Swords Dance on the heal so that next turn Rock Slide will one-shot as long as it doesn't miss. Perfect. Cryogonal is a pushover as long as you have a physical attack, so I use Dig since it's 100% accurate. Oh, Levitate. Wait, did I just lose to Brycen? No, I must be dreaming. Let's see what really happened. I Swords Dance to open, so I don't need to chance the roll against Beartic's Icicle Crash. Vanillish's Frost Breath hurts, but now it's just a matter of landing 3 90% accurate Rock Slides in a row to get us out of this gym. I didn't pull any punches against Cryogonal this time as I shatter the Snowflake with my Rocky Avalanche. Now it's the typical sequence of Dragon Spiral Tower, Desert Resort, Darkstone, before our final battle with Bianca. Nothing exciting happens here as it's just a series of one-shots to take out her entire team, so let's jump over to Opelucid City and our last gym battle against Iris. We open with Swords Dance as Fracture goes for Dragon Dance. We're still faster than the dragon, so as we take to the sky with Fly, Iris uses another dance. Even at +2 speed, Fracture is still slower as it gets taken out by a +2 Sharp Beak boosted Fly. Next, Druddigon and Haxorus both get outsped and drop with Flies, which allows us to fill out the last spot in our badge case. While Landorus has definitely steamrolled through this game, there's only about a minute and a half until the 2-hour mark, so I guess we still haven't found a Mon that can crack that. Anyway, our last battle with Sharon goes the same as Bianca, so instead of boring you, let's get to the Elite Four. I actually meant to rare candy Landorus up to level 55 before taking on Chantal so he would learn Earthquake, but I forgot, so we go in at 54. In these games, the Earthquake TM isn't available until post-game, so having it in its level up moveset is a huge plus for Landorus. I open with Swords Dance as our Rossberry we got earlier cures the burn from Cofagrigus. At +2, we use our strongest attack, Fly, to KO the Ghost Expert's lead. Next up is Jellicent, who also dies to Fly, but its Cursed Body ability disables the move, so we can't use it for the remaining 2 mods. This is a non-issue as the super effective Dig kills Chandelure, and then one more finishes off Golurk for our first win. Not to mention her last Pokemon gives us our level up, so now we're all set with Earthquake. Now I give Landorus the Soft Sand to hold and challenge Grimsley and his Dark types. We start with a Fly to kill Scrafty before it can crunch us for a potential defense drop or use Sand Attack. Now with Crocodile in, we're at -1 attack, so I Swords Dance to get to +1. In a surprisingly smart twist, Grimsley uses Foul Play here to do big damage based on my +1 attack stat. Regardless, Contra hangs on in the yellow and kills with Earthquake. Next is Liepard, who gets a Fake Out off, but we still had more than enough HP to worry about that, so the Cat and Grimsley's Ace Bisharp both die to a pair of Earthquakes, bringing us one step closer to victory. All we need to do to beat Caitlyn is survive a Psychic from Reuniclus and then not miss Rock Slide against Sigilif. With those 2 out of the way, Masharna and Gothitelle are light work, and now we only have Marshall standing in our way of End's Castle. I swap the Soft Sand for the Sharp Beak and jump into battle. Throw gets dropped by Fly and then Sawk comes in, so it's time to deal with Sturdy. After our first Fly, we're hit by Stone Edge and get a Swords Dance off as Marshall heals. Another Fly procs Sturdy and a crit Stone Edge brings us into kill range. This time I decide to use Earthquake on the heal turn so I don't need to take another attack after Fly. With literally 1 HP, we cause one last Tremor to knock the fighting type out. Since I was able to get to +2 attack, Kinkeldr and Mienshao pose no problem as the former goes down to a Fly and we finish the latter with Earthquake. Against N, I don't know what came over me, but I swapped Zekrom into Landorus instead of my patented Monkey Death for a quick switch strategy. Because of this, we had to take a Fusion Flare off the bat, and even though we got past Vanillux, Caracosta's Waterfall took us out. I decided since this was a misplay by me and not Landorus' fault, I'm gonna subtract the time from when I incorrectly swapped Landorus into Fusion Flare up until my second battle with N began, or 1 minute and 31 seconds, so you'll see this come off the final time. Now that that's sorted, I open with an Earthquake to KO the Legendary. Then Vanillux gets taken out with another, same as last time. The reason the clean switch was so important here was to deal with Caracosta and it's sturdy. I open with Fly for a bit of damage as Waterfall does about half our health. Regardless, now a super effective Earthquake is enough to kill the turtle. At level 60, Klinklang dies to our 4th EQ of the match, and then Archeops comes in. We're not plagued by a Rock Slide miss, so the Ancient Bird goes down, and one last EQ is all it takes to KO Zoroark. The real problem with Ghetsis is that you don't have time to change your held item after defeating N. His Cofagrigus will always go for Toxic, so if you're not holding a Pecha Berry in a solo run, you're in trouble. Since I needed the Soft Sand to make sure I could kill Caracosta, this battle isn't looking good. As expected, I'm able to make my way through 3 of the Evil Mastermind's Pokemon before I ultimately succumb to poison. Time to go back in with the Pecha Berry. Cofagrigus actually opts for Protect turn 1, so I get a Swords Dance off for free. This works out beautifully because I actually need to be at +4 to kill Electros later on, so I can Swords Dance a second time without worrying about being poisoned. Now +4 Earthquakes kill the Sarcophagus and Seismitoad before Hydreigon comes out. This 3-headed dragon has Surf, but it doesn't get to touch me as we destroy it with a single Fly. Buffalin and Bisharp also can't stand up to our +4 Earthquakes, which just leaves the aforementioned Eel. Since this electric type has Levitate, it actually has no weaknesses. Not only that, but it resists my Stab Fly, and even at +2 a Rock Slide wouldn't kill. But since we got lucky with Cofagrigus opening by protecting, I can hilariously use a +4 not very effective Fly to bring Electros down and finish this run. Landorus definitely didn't disappoint, but we're still looking for a Pokemon that can beat Lenora and Elesa on their first attempts, not to mention our embarrassing loss to Brycen, but that was more on me than Landorus. Unfortunately, we still weren't able to break that 2-hour mark, and even if completely optimized, I think we'd still be a few minutes over. What I really think would help is finding a Pokemon that doesn't rely on 2-turn moves like Dig and Fly, since I'm sure the time between when these are clicked and when they actually connect adds up. After factoring in the time loss from my switching mistake against N, the Ground Genie clocks in at a time of 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 16 seconds, finally dethroning Samurott at the number 1 spot. Its in-game time also crossed a new threshold, being the first of our runs to be less than 6 hours. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for future runs. It really helps out. Also, be sure to comment which Pokemon you want to see take on this challenge next. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.